welcome to the Meditation in Moments workshop. I am super excited to be hosting this virtually. I've done it a couple of times in person, and it's been, really beneficial for people. So if you want to leave your camera on, you are more than welcome to. If you want to turn it off, that is also okay. But with such a small group here live, I would love for this to be, interactive. If you've got questions or, comments about anything that I go over here. So just please feel free to, butt in. Don't feel like you need to use any of the Zoom tools to raise hands or or be formal about anything. I am going to do my best actually to wing this a little bit. I am not generally a comfortable winger. No, I very much have a corporate background where you have slides and handouts and what have you. So I have just some bare bones slides that I might be popping back and forth to when a visual explanation might help a little bit more. But in general, I'm just going to try and keep it, like I said, casual and talk through these things. And so I will go ahead and start just with sharing the agenda. Oops, and you guys are on top of that. Okay, can you see that? Okay, cool. Oops. So I did the brief introductions. I'll just run through kind of how I came to meditation so that you guys both know where all of this came from. Then we'll do just a quick overview of mindfulness and meditation. We're going to talk about some myths. I think that really by debunking some myths, we can actually get a better sense of what meditation is and isn't. Then we're going to go into quick hits. So this is meditation in moments. It's meant to work in the moments that you need meditation the most. Having 30 extra minutes in our morning is fantastic. And those are generally not the days that I really need meditation. So, you need the meditation when you wake up late and spill the milk and all the things. So I've tried to really distill some mindfulness and meditation techniques down into the most micro dose possible that still gives you the benefit of resetting your nervous system and coming back to, your center and who you want to be and how you want to interact with the world around you. Then we kind of go into the advanced section, which is more than just a moment. So these are things that you might actually have to purposefully schedule into your day, but still aren't going to take a 30-minute block of time. And then we'll go over some resources. We're going to start with a quick meditation, actually, and then we will end with a little bit longer guided meditation at the end. Does that sound okay to everybody? All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. Okay, we're just gonna settle in. Go ahead and put your hand on your heart. Deep breath in. Let it all out. We're going to do that again, and I want you to make your exhale really noisy on this next one. Inhale in, sigh it out. That's it. It's a micro meditation that you could do at a stoplight when your kids are screaming in the back seat. So that's literally all you need just to get that quick hit to bring you back to again, who you are and who you want to be. So I came to meditation because I needed that. I had just wrestled a melting down toddler into my car, and I was standing, like, I got him buckled in, and like sweat is pouring because hell hath no fury than a toddler who doesn't want to go into their car seat. And I was like standing in the Target parking lot. It had just like gone disastrously, like all the angry words. It was rage, and it was embarrassment, and it was desperation and fear, and all of these things were just a volcano inside of me. But I didn't have a half an hour to process all of that. I had to get into the car with the kid who was still having a problem, and me unloading on him was not going to help his problem get any better. And so I literally just like put my hand on my heart and took 2 deep breaths, and it was enough to get me into the car, to get him home, to get him into a safe place. And then I went and cried while doing the dishes. I share semi-openly that both of my sons have some special needs. And so, I was really in the thick of figuring out what those were, what kind of help they needed. And so, my time wasn't my own, my schedule wasn't my own. And at the time when all of this was going on, about 7 years ago, I looked into, okay, I think this meditation thing is really what could help me, because I'm stuck, right? Like, therapists wouldn't see me because I wouldn't sign their contracts, because I didn't, they were like, well, it's a 24-hour no-show fee. I'm like, I don't get 24 hours notice. Like, I might be dropping a kid off at school, and within 15 minutes, they're like, something's triggered him. You got to come pick him up. I didn't, I didn't own my own time. And so I was like, okay, well, therapy's out right now, which sucks because I could really use that. And I looked into like transcendental meditation and some of these other ones. Well, one, it was thousands of dollars, and it all required a very significant investment of time, which I did not have, but I needed the help. So I started researching and taking a look at lots of different methodologies and just trying them and experimenting. And this course is the result of all of that, and of me just sharing my wins with others, parents in the special education community, and and broader, just within the school community. Like, whether your kids have special needs or not, everybody needs something to pull them back when they're about to lose their crap on their kids, right? Or with a coworker, or with your spouse, or what have you. So that is how all of this got birthed. Because, like I said, it has to work in the moments that you need it the most, which is generally not those days that you have an extra 30 minutes in your schedule for like all of this really great and beautiful self-care. That's not necessarily the reality that a lot of us live in and day out. So in this course, I use meditation as an umbrella term for a collection of mindfulness, meditation, and breathwork exercises. Like I said, I did kind of a sampling of a lot of things, experimented and created, what worked for me, and synthesized that into a collection of tools that I can pick and choose from based on the amount of time I have, what I feel like doing that day, and or what I need that day. So going through some myths, I think that's somewhat important to talk about what meditation isn't. So the biggest thing that people think when they come to meditation is that it is that 30 minutes sitting still in a quiet room. And I love this story that Jay Shetty has shared. I don't know if you guys are familiar with who Jay Shetty is. He is a He's a man who became a monk and then actually left the monastery. But he was like a Buddhist monk in India, and he left and started sharing the teachings that he learned, while training to become a monk and being a monk on social media and, podcasts and everything. So he has a huge YouTube, TikTok, Instagram following, all of these things. But one of the, there's a couple of stories that he shared that were really kind of pivotal to my understanding of meditation. So the one that I'll share here around, you need to sit still in a quiet room. While he was, he lived in the UK and went to India for his training. And he was picked up like at the farther edge of India. He flew in, was picked up by this monk, and then they got on the train. And of course, the monks have no real earthly possessions. So it's not like they were in the first class cabin, first class car of this train going across India to the remote village where the monastery was. And he was like, okay, well, I'm here, I'm in training. He was trying to practice meditation. And as you can imagine, in India, in like the coachiest of coach classes, they were crammed on this train pretty tightly. And at every stop, Jay was getting off of the train and sitting in the train station to meditate. And then he would get back on the train as it was departing, and they'd go to the next stop. And after 4 or 5 stops, the monk that he was traveling with was like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm practicing my meditation. And the monk was like, okay, I see that, but why are you getting off the train to do it? And he's like, well, it's quieter off the train. And the monk just looked at him and says, do you think life is more like the train or like the station? And Jay was like the train? And the monk was like, bingo. So you have to be able to meditate on the train in the chaos of everything that's going around you, everything that's going on around you, for it to really work. Like, that's the skill, that's the real flex, is not when you have this quiet time on your own. It's, can you stay calm and peaceful and in your zone with everything going on around you. The second misconception or myth that most people talk about is that you're supposed to have a completely blank mind. People are like, oh, I always have thoughts and, it's so noisy in my head. Well, the good news is that you're alive, and brains are meant to think. And so your brain is going to think even during meditation. If you could truly turn it off and not have any thoughts, you would be dead. And this would be a different conversation, right? You will have thoughts. Your mind will wander. So I just want to get that out of the way right at the beginning. You're not doing it wrong if you have thoughts. You're not doing it wrong if you have 5 minutes of your mind off on a tangent before you even catch yourself and bring yourself back. The trick is to recognize it and get faster in recognizing it and bringing your mind back to a calm and peaceful state that's not thoughtless, but has focused and peaceful thoughts. 2 more myths that we'll hit here is that you're selfish to take this time. I get this a lot, especially in my special needs, mom community, where it's like, oh, I don't even take the time to shower. And especially when you have kids with really complex needs, I truly understand that. But I also know that once I started putting these things into practice and taking just even the 3 to 5 minutes a day for myself, my capacity to have patience and energy while I needed to care for my kids grew exponentially in correlation with the time that I took for this. So just like eating and sleeping is not selfish, these are things that you have to do to take care of self, and making sure that your mental and emotional health is as intact as your physical health is super important if we're caring for others, whether they be spouses, parents, or children in our care. And then the fourth one that I get semi often is that meditation is somehow goes against a specific religion. And I think it's really all in how you look at it. One, I don't believe that anything that increases our peace and our compassion for others could possibly go against a just and benevolent divine being. Number one, let's just let's just put that out there. But two, I want you to think about it as if you think about prayer as speaking to God. Consider meditation as the time where you get quiet so that you can listen to his response. So it's just clearing the time and space so that you can hear from spirit and get the messages and the downloads that you're supposed to receive, and reclaim some peace of your own in your mind and in your space. Okay, any questions about the myths before we move on? Any thoughts? Any myths that you guys have heard, questions you have that I can debunk?
I don't have any questions, but yes, I agree with a lot of that. So and it's nice to know that your head doesn't have to be empty, because that was always my thing. My head is always going.
Yeah,
So
well, and so I have one of my best friends, God love her. She is like the most like go, 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 go kind of person. And I took her through this course. She was one of like my first beta testers. And she was like, holy shit, I did it. Like, you know, I was able to give her some tools, and we'll get into those, like how to find these moments when you're doing other things even, right? It's not necessarily all about sitting still. We're you know, we'll get into some other methodologies, but she was like, I was able to clear my mind for the first time and kind of get that flow state while she was doing something else. And so for her, that's her magic ticket to mindfulness, is her body cannot be still, and for her to find that peaceful moment. So Beth, I see you. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I felt like so many years I lost like waiting for conditions to be perfect to meditate. Like I had to have a perfect meditation cushion, the perfectly calm and still quiet spot, and two kids, dogs constantly. Like now it all is just part of the meditation. And it is like when it is truly quiet that I actually have the hardest time like stilling my mind. Yeah.
Right. You know, because because you can do it on the train. And so you're like, hey, if it's quiet, I'm going to use this time to do something else, because I can do this meditation thing any other time. Like, what I want to read. I want to read in silence. That's what I'm going to do when it's quiet. So, all right. Awesome. Okay, well, let's get into some of the tools and the techniques. I'm just gonna double check here. Okay. Ah, okay. So I lost my cheat sheet. Like I said, I'm in my husband's office, and so like his screen setup and everything is all wonky here. All right, so first off, let's talk about micro meditations. So micro meditations is literally what we did to get started. It's just taking 2 deep breaths, and it's the act of pausing, if you can, sitting down on the ground, whether it's your kitchen floor, whether it's the aisle in Target, I don't care where you are, if you can take a moment to sit on the ground, because changing your focus changes your perspective and changes how your body is reacting to the situation that you're in, and also connects you with the earth, and connecting and grounding with the earth, even if it's the linoleum in your, in your kitchen. That that act and the pressure points of you like sitting cross-legged for just a minute, for just literally the 30 seconds that you need to put your hand on your heart and take 2 deep breaths, stops your nervous system from continuing on the path that it was, where you were ratcheting up higher and higher. You were feeling things getting out of your control, and it allows you to reconnect with your breath. One of the other lessons that Jay Shetty shares, that's really hard to say, about his time as a monk, was actually the very first lesson that he learned. He shows up at the monastery, and he's watching these children who have been kind of turned over to the monastery to become monks as very young children. And there was a little bit older child leading this class, and he gets a chance to talk to this student teacher after the lesson was over, and he was like, "Oh, what were you teaching them? A chant or a prayer or whatever?" He said, "Oh no, this was their very first lesson." And he was like, "Oh, so was it like the rules or whatever?" And he said, "No, it was how to breathe." Because if you think about it, your breath is the very first thing that you experience in this world, and it will be the very last thing that you experience in this world. And one of the first things that changes as your emotions, as your thoughts, as the tension in your body changes, is your breath. So if you can bring yourself back to those 2 deep breaths, you're going to change your heart rate, and you're going to regain control over the situation and your physical response, which stops that escalation in the moment, so that then you can respond instead of reacting in a knee-jerk fashion. So micro meditations is probably the one that I use the most because you can literally do it at a stoplight, outside of your car in the Target parking lot, in any moment where you need to come back to self so that you can deal with the crisis at hand, and then you get through whatever it is, and then you can have time to fall apart, process, and regroup. But in the moment, that is your fallback tool to have in your back pocket. The next kind of quick hit meditation technique that I like to use is what I was just saying, was meditation in motion. I'm going to share my screen here real quick because I have a list. And I'm not going to switch into the presentation mode if you guys can see that okay. Yeah, so meditation in motion is really just finding some way for you to, get into a Zen state, into some sort of a flow state. So this could be wherever you find that you get like your aha moments or your hits of inspiration. For me, it's showering. Like, I don't like to talk about showering as self-care because it's like a basic rite of humaning at this point. Like, I don't feel like it's like a special thing to go take a shower. But a shower for me is often where I'm like, oh, I should do this, or I need to write this email, or I get those, those moments of inspiration. A lot of people find coloring, a deeply meditative practice. Rad and Happy is another small women-owned business that I've mentioned here, and she does a Color Happy, where for $5 every month you get a set of 6 or 8 coloring pages. Some of them are like big patterns that are great for little kids, and then some of them are smaller patterns that are better for adult hands to do. I have had a subscription for years and love it. I download them and do them on my iPad actually, so which is fun. Not affiliated. There's zero link here. Like, she doesn't know who I am. It's just something I've used, and for $5 a month, especially if you've got little kids where you can, like print them off and do double duty, it's a great option. If you're running or walking or hiking, for my husband, it's gardening. He loves being out in the yard, and that's where his mind goes quiet, and it's not filled with the racing thoughts, and moments of inspiration can come. Swinging, playing with your pets. My girlfriend that I told you about, for her, she was able to find this kind of, Zen peaceful moment in the grocery store. I don't know how the hell we're friends, because I literally would rather pick dog poop up out of the yard than go to the grocery store. But she loves going to the grocery store. It's her jam. It's her happy place, and she was able to, she's able to incorporate some self-care into a mundane activity that she enjoys. And to me, that's kind of the magic of this, is finding things and realizing that you can infuse mindfulness into your daily activities, so that it doesn't have to be something complicated that you have to set time aside for. And like Beth said, you've got to have this quiet little nook, and like half the time I'm meditating and it's like Nerf darts are whizzing, and like my hooligans are banshee yelling in the background, and back doors are slamming and all the things. So finding some way to infuse that little bit of peace, finding peace into your daily life. If you don't look for it, you don't necessarily take the time to stop and notice that that's when it's happening, and that's what works for you. The third quick hit is meditation and music. Again, so many of us get hung up, or the thought of silence is really intimidating for a lot of people. And finding just one song that truly lifts you up, not pumps you up, not like amping you up like the roar, I'm gonna, take on the world. I have those songs too, but something that truly makes you feel peaceful, makes you feel connected to the wonder and divinity of the world around us. I have some suggestions, and I actually have a playlist that I use much. I use that in tandem with the meditation in motion. So for me, when I walk my dog, the first thing that I listen to first thing in the morning is always my meditation playlist. And so whether I listen to just the first song, which is my favorite one, or if I listen to the whole, 20 minutes of it, before I switch over to a podcast or an audiobook or the music that pumps me up for the rest of my day, the very first thing that I put into my mind and into my ears is a song that reminds me of my connection to source. And it's also a really great timer for those of us who may want to try and sit still for 5 minutes, but you're like, you keep peeking at the clock, like, surely it's been 5 minutes already. But if you can just turn on one song, then when the song switches over, you're like, oh, thank God, and you can, and then you're like, okay, enough, I'm done. But so it sets a natural timer. It's a short, quick little hit. You can do it like sometimes I crawl out of the shower, and while you're like, if it's a hot shower and you're still sweating or whatever, I just sit on my bed in my bra and my underwear, and I listen to a song, and it's 2.5 minutes, and I'm just like taking that moment while my moisturizer is soaking in, or whatever, to to center myself before my day gets away from me, right? So it's another kind of quick hit because it is less than 5 minutes. So both of you have access to the full meditation in moments course within the retreat. Cassie, you just got access to the retreat today. So there is a link in the course to my particular playlist if you are interested in that. Or you can just DM me and I can send you some recommendations. Beth, I'm sure that your playlists are legendary with all of your your yoga classes and stuff. But anyways, so those are there as a resource for you. I've linked it both on Amazon Music and in Spotify. And then my last quick hit, which is actually probably one of my favorite things, is structured breathing. So we're going to talk about two different kinds of structured breathing, and then I'm going to send you to a resource for a third. So the first kind of structured breathing is so simple, you're going to be like, really? That can't be it. But here it is. You're going to breathe in and count 1. You're going to exhale and count 2. You're going to breathe in and count 3. You're going to exhale and count 4. And you're going to count up to 20. And then you're going to start over again. It is that freaking simple. But I will tell you that I am claustrophobic, and I had to have an MRI on my brain a couple of years ago. I'd had a couple of really bad migraines that had sent me to the emergency room, and we were just checking things out to make sure that everything was okay. Everything is fine. I'm just blessed with migraines, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. But 45 minutes, they literally had strapped a cage around my head and shoved me headfirst into the MRI tube, even though I had requested an open MRI. That is not what I got. So I was like, if I moved and messed it up, they were going to have to start all over. I was going to have to come back in and start the 45 minutes over again. I counted to 20 for 45 minutes. And it got me through every bit of my anxiety and semi-panic about being like, literally, I don't know if you've ever been shoved head first in an MRI tube, but I could feel the tube, like on my shoulders, on my sides. It was a really uncomfortable experience. But it has gotten me through, like, that technique has gotten me through so many things because it keeps you focused on the numbers and it controls your breathing. So again, if you can control your breathing, you can control your reaction to things. And I will tell you, as simple as counting to 20 sounds like, you're going to lose track. You're going to be at at 12. Oh, hell, I don't know. And then you start over at 1, right? So again, you can't screw this up. But it's just giving your mind something to do when you're in a situation that you don't maybe have control over like you would like. I've done it during my son's meltdowns. There were times where I was bear wrapped around him from behind while he raged and just had to get it out of his system. And all I could do was breathe in 1, breathe out 2. Breathe in 3, breathe out 4, all the way up to 20, and then start over again. So stupid simple, but actually harder to do than you might think in, in a longer session, like in a 45-minute MRI. I can't even tell you how many times I lost my place, but it's just like that gentle, oh, I was thinking, okay, lost track of what number I was at, come back to 1. 2, I do it when I struggle with insomnia at night. It's a good method to just, so that your mind isn't racing, you're not thinking about the to-do list, you're not thinking about all those other things. It's just breathe in 1, breathe out 2, until you drop off to sleep or lose your place, and then you just start over again. The second method for structured breathing that I will talk about here is square breathing. Beth, have you heard of that, of square breathing? You have, okay, but Cassie, you haven't. So square breathing looks like this. Oh, come on. So many things all in my way, so I can't present here. Anyways, all right, here we go. So square breathing looks like you're going to inhale for 4 counts, and you're going to try and make it as smooth as possible. So it's not like 2, 3, 4, right? You're going to breathe in over the course of your count for 4. So it's in, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to hold your breath for the count of 4 again. So it's a hold, 2, 3, 4. Then you start your exhale, and exhale slowly over those 4 counts. And then you have to hold while you're empty at the end of your exhale. And that is a rather uncomfortable feeling. You will get used to it. When I first wrote this course 2 years ago, I was like, I don't ever do this one, but I've heard it's good. Since then, I have done more breath work, and I'm really impressed with the power of this and how it really can reset your nervous system and really slow you down if you're feeling really anxious and really spun up. So this is one of those that it's a little bit easier to understand when you have a graphic here, but it's literally just 4 counts each. Breathe in, pause for your 4, exhale for 4, and then pause again for 4 counts before you breathe in again. So the resource that I will share around that, there's an app. It's not cheap, but it is an amazing breathwork app, and it's called Othership. And it sounds like the Schitt's Creek episode where it's like they're gonna go to like the gateway in the sky or whatever. Like, I don't know if you guys are Schitt's Creek watchers, but you know, where it's like Alexis almost gets them like into the cult. So a friend of mine recommended it, and I was like, Othership? Like, is it an actual gateway in the sky? But they do have like a 2-week, it's either a 2-week or a 30-day trial run on it. And they have a variety of breathwork activities that you just listen to, and it's set to music. So it like they do a really great job of having both AM and PM breathwork exercises. They have ones that are more energizing, probably along some of like the, what is it, the yoga nidra, where it's like the yogic breathing, it's like the breath of fire and all of these kinds of things that are going to increase your energy and really ramp you up for the day. And then they have ones that are like, do it just before you go to sleep, and it's going to calm your nervous system and help you do it. And it's got everything from kind of the 3 to 4 minute quick hit to a longer practice. I think they have like 10 to 15 minute practices, and then they have more like 30-minute practices when you're like really serious into it. I think I might have an affiliate link for that. So if you're interested, let me know and I can double check. Because I think it's like $100 for the year. It's not a cheap app, but if you're interested, in breath work. And this was something that I wanted to explore a little bit more. So it was worth it to me for at least to try a year. So I just wanted to mention that in passing. Okay. I have thrown a lot at you with the 5 different kind of methods, 4 different methods for the quick hits. Before we go into some of the longer, the methodologies that take a little bit more time out of your schedule, do you have any questions or comments or anything?
So on the box breathing, I'm kind of with you, past Rubby. The holding it on the empty, like that triggers panic in me. And I'm just interested, like, because with yoga, like it comes up more often, probably a normal person it does.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, any tips for kind of like, other than just like continuing to try it, like any tips for like dealing with that panic?
For me, it was really once I started doing this Othership app, because there's a couple of them that really force the like hold on empty, where like you're holding on empty for like 30 seconds.
Ooh.
And and it's just like I would literally set a timer, or I would just like watch, and I'm like, I mean, it's not pretty. It does trigger quite a bit. It was just practice. It was just saying, okay, there has to be something to this. There has to be a benefit on the other side of this discomfort that I'm going to find. And so I don't know that there's really any tips besides telling yourself that you can literally freaking breathe at any moment. Right? Like there's nothing magic about holding it for, like for 4 counts. So start with 2.
Yeah. I get it.
And then when you're comfortable with 2, you practice, for 10 days in a row, doing 3 count breathing. And then, work your way up to the 4. But yeah, when I did this, I was like, yeah, they say that this is good to do, but results are mixed.
I just end up like just gasping like for the inhale. So then, it all gets off and I'm just like, screw this. Which, like life is too short to, to force myself to breathe.
To be uncomfortable breathing. I know. Yeah, it's interesting because they do a lot. They do some education along with like, why are we doing this particular one? So like with each in the app, with each it will come up with like a suggested one for you for the day. You can favorite some of them, but each of them have a description of like, what kind of breathing is it? Why do why do you do it? This one's going to ramp you up because, of this, that, and the other thing. And I think just having somebody talk me through it too helped. And having some music so that you're focusing, you can focus on something else besides the fact that your body is starving for oxygen. And, but really when it's really just practice, Beth.
Got it. No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Sorry. That's like the shitty answer of like, you just got to do it.
I'll hold chair pose for like a minute and get real uncomfortable in my yoga mat, but like, I gotta hold my breath for 4 seconds and like suddenly I'm having a panic attack. So something to unpack.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was surprised at how quickly I got comfortable with it when I was being guided instead of just doing it on my own and winging it. So, Cassie, any thoughts or questions from you?
No questions, but yes, definitely I have a lot of anxiety and stuff and just yes, need that in the moment. A lot of just think I can't gather
Yeah.
myself out all the time. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I can't even fathom it, um, I, I'm just adjacent to that with, what I've dealt with my own kids. And so, I can just tell you that these are the things that really save my bacon, in the moment, and, allowed me to give both myself some grace and some compassion, and, extend the same to my kids who are also having a hard time in the moment.
Yes. Yes. And I'm definitely like, I have that, like, my the little guy, he is, ooh, he is
Yeah,
a tough one.
I
He's
feel
only
that
he's only
deeply.
3.5. So like I haven't like, had him checked for anything or whatever, but that may be something
Yeah.
down the line at some point over the next 2 or 3 years. But right now I'm just like
Right.
being in.
You're in
So
the thick of it. And 3 is hard because they have some words, and they have really big opinions about stuff, like bigger than their body opinions.
yes.
And yeah, 3 is tough.
Yes, it
I
is.
hate to say it. 10 is tough. 14 is turning out to be tough. Like,
A lot of them are tough.
you know, yeah, yeah. Anyways, well, hopefully some of those will help you, like, in the moment.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we'll turn our attention here quickly to, let me peek at my notes here. I've got two more really, like, meditation types, or practices, and then one is just kind of in general. So we're going to start with the general one here, and it's habit stacking. I don't know if you've done any research into, like, the science behind how people actually successfully adopt habits, or, stop habits, but for the purposes of our conversation here, we're going to be talking about adopting habits. But one of the biggest keys to success is stacking a habit with something that you're already doing. So let's use taking your daily vitamin as an example. Let's say that you are wanting to start taking your vitamins. And right now they live back in your medicine cabinet in your bathroom. And you're like, I am just never remembering to take these dang things, but I know that I need to. I know that it's good for me. So you might look around and go, okay, what do I do every day? Coffee. I have a cup of coffee every day. So what you might do then is move your supplements to the same cabinet that you keep your coffee, or put it literally on the kitchen counter next to your coffee maker, so that as you press start on the coffee maker, you see your supplements, and you in a glass, in your empty glass right there next to it, so that then all you have to do is get a little bit of water, take your supplements before you pour your coffee into your mug, and you've combined those two habits together. So you've attached the one that you're struggling with to something that you're already doing. So we can take a look at meditation in much the same way. So let's take the meditation in motion. Take making your coffee as a meditative experience, instead of, like, just going through the motions and, slapping the coffee maker, on, and all that kind of stuff. Stop and really make kind of a ritual about it, and really focus in on what your senses are feeling. Like, what does the light look like in the kitchen, or lack of, depending on how early you have to get up? But what does it smell like? What does your coffee cup, feel like in your hand? As the warmth seeps in, can you stack this mindfulness piece, either build it into a habit that you already have, or stack it so that maybe if you don't use like a Nespresso instant coffee maker, kind of like we do, but if you're making like an actual pot of coffee, take the couple of minutes, the 5 minutes while it's percolating, or while your tea kettle is on. I'm a tea drinker as opposed to a coffee drinker. So while your tea kettle is boiling or coming up to boiling, take that time, sit on the floor in your kitchen, put your hand on your heart, and just breathe until that kettle is done. You've got a built-in timer. You're connecting it to, the habit that you already have, and you're carving out just this little mini pocket of time for yourself. One of the best habits, if you happen to have a daily exercise habit, or you're walking the dog or something like that, but something that moves your body, there's actually science behind the benefits of stacking a meditative practice right after you have moved your body. A lot of emotions and stress are stored in the body. Beth, I know that you probably see a lot of this through teaching yoga and everything, like they talk about, your hips being your emotional junk drawer, and like the the body stores tension and trauma, whether it's a capital T or a little t. The body stores and remembers all of these things. So if you can get some exercise and some activity, and it doesn't have to be like 30 minutes with Sean T of insanity, or something crazy, right? It doesn't have to be like sweat dripping and stinging your eyes. It can literally just be walking your dog, and then taking that time at the end of your walk to sit down, and it can be 5 minutes or less, to really just process and give yourself a moment of stillness at the end of it. So if you have any sort of activity habit that you already do, I'd really encourage you to just try and tack on a couple more minutes at the end, and see how that works for you as far as sneaking meditation into your day and getting to the point where you're consistent about it. Habit stacking is a powerful tool to use. Okay, so the two different meditation mindfulness techniques that just it takes a little bit more time. We're going to talk about meditation with a structure. There's a 4-part structure. I cannot take full credit for this. Full credit. He's a fitness instructor. His name's Todd McCullough. I adapted this from him, so I do want to give full credit where credit is due. But I've tweaked it a little bit to fit my purposes. So the 4 main keys for this that we'll go over is, when you sit down to meditate, you're first going to start with gratitude. Then you're going to move to service. Then you move to support. And then you're going to breathe. So what does this mean? And this is actually the guided meditation that we're going to do at the end. So you're going to have an example of what this is. But when you sit down, you're going to take just the first couple of moments, and this could be 2 minutes, right? You're going to spend 30 seconds in each, one of these 4 parts, or it could be 10 minutes. However much time you have, you can flex this up and down. But with gratitude, it's not just going to be a list of like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for my house and my husband and da 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 da. But like, really feel into it. Like, really lean into the 1, 2, it could be, however many things that you want to bring up that you're really grateful for. And this might be the same thing for a couple of days running, or you might have something different every day that you are really grateful for. But taking the moment to start your practice with gratitude, whether it's for the great weather that you had yesterday for the family outing. There was no tantrums last night, before bed, and you're like, please God, give us another day like that. Whatever it might be, but not just like, kind of slapping the list together. Really feel into, when I think about this and I think about being grateful for it, how does my body feel? Where in my body do I feel that gratitude? Is it in my heart? Is it in the pit of my, is it in my stomach? Do I feel warm in my stomach? Does it feel like a hug? Does it feel like an expansion? Like how do I feel physically in my body when I think about whatever it is that I'm grateful for? Then the second piece is service. So once you are done feeling grateful, not that we ever should stop feeling grateful, but once you're ready to move on to the next piece, service is lifting someone else up in prayer. Or if you are not necessarily a religious and praying type, just taking a moment to envision someone in your life that might be struggling and imagining a ball of supportive energy encircling that person and sending all of your best wishes to that situation, to that person, just with the intention that they have what they need for that day. It's just asking the universe to provide for somebody that's not yourself. Sometimes it's yourself. I'll be honest. Sometimes, you're like, really? I could use an extra shot of help today. But the third part is actually with support is, what do you need for your day? So you can do a couple of things. You can flip through just some words, right? Like I kind of have a group of words in my Rolodex of this, like, so do I need rest today? Do I need community today? Do I need intimate connection today? Do I need to like just declutter and get shit done? Do I, do I need to be really productive today? Like, what does success look like for my day based on the energy that I have at the moment, what's on my to-do list, and, the capacity that I have overall? And some days it might be, I need to find pockets of rest wherever I can, acknowledging that I have to do these things, but that anything that's not required is getting taken off the list today, and I'm infusing rest everywhere that I possibly can. Maybe that's taking a nap with my little one. Maybe that's just putting my feet up and closing my eyes while they, are watch Dora the Explorer, like instead of like, I don't know, straightening the living room. The living room was just the way that it is. Just, take whatever it is that you need, if that's what you need that day. But if decluttering and straightening up the living room is going to make your mental health better for that day, is going to make you feel better that day, then prioritize doing that, right? Jump right into it. But this is really just taking a moment to check in with yourself and to see what is it that would actually support you best in your day, and finding ways to incorporate that as best as you can. Like, we could all use a week vacation in Hawaii. It's not always in the cards. So sometimes it's just like, gonna put the kid in the tub and I'm just gonna sit and get splashed while I drink my wine. Like, that's just that's the way that today is going to be. But you know what? They're going to just get a 30-minute bath so that I can sit right here and drink my wine while they're occupied. And then the fourth piece of this kind of structured meditation is taking a couple of moments to come back to your breath and just do that, like count up to 20, right? With your deep breaths of inhale 1, exhale 2, go up to 20, and then you're done with your structured meditation and you can move on. For some people, having a structure just helps with the anxiety of like, what do I do? I don't have a blank mind. I'm going to have these thoughts anyway. So giving your mind something to focus on, it can be comforting and a way for you to also get the benefit of the mindfulness practice that we're trying to achieve here. Now, the second way to work with meditation that's a little bit longer is to use a physical focus point. So for me, obviously, that's crystals. So whether you have a mala or a set of meditation beads, or you have a crystal, a lot of people are like, how do you actually like use those? How do you actually like, what am I supposed to do with it? Just hold it? You can just hold it if you want. Again, it just gives you something for that tactile, thing. So you can, whether you've got, I've got my bigger palm stones right here, but I know each of you got the set of the meditation bundle. But you can, look at the card for that and see which one is calling to you today. Which one do you feel like you need? It's like, do you need more of the intuition, or do you need, what is it that you need? And then it's setting that intention, and you can rub it, you can just hang on to it. There's a lot of different thought practices or around using crystals and meditation. Some people really find making a like a crystal grid is a really nice meditative practice, where you would take different crystals and lay them out in a geometric pattern. Some places sell like scarves or little wooden boards that have like some of the divine geometric patterns. It's like the seed of life, or there's a couple of different names for them, but they're supposed to be these divine patterns. I don't know. I don't have any of them. But the act of setting an intention and pulling out your stone and setting it in the center, and then like if you had just even like sea glass pebbles or shells, or something that connects you to a sense of serenity and peace, to make some sort of a geometric pattern around it. We've all seen fractals and those types of things, but that can be, again, a way to kind of occupy your hands and your eyes to let your mind hit that flow state. The other thing that I like to do is find, like, this is with the background, this is not going to work very well. That's not going to work at all unless, I can hold it right here in front of my face. That's cool. So if you look, okay, so suffice it to say that crystal is clear quartz, but it has a whole lot of other stuff inside of it. But you can just find a crystal that has a lot of movement, or something that you think is interesting to study, and just spend some time kind of letting your gaze be soft and looking at it. The other way that you can use meditation beads is, if you have a set like this, you would find a mantra that you would want to repeat, and you would move the beads through your fingers as you want, as you repeat your mantra, much like a rosary, much, like lots of different religious practices. Use some sort of, strand of beads to help you keep count. And it also gives you kind of a beginning and an end. I will say, if you're a beginner, starting with a mala like this is a commitment because there are 108 beads here. So that's repeating your mantra 108 times. And let me just tell you, if you're looking for a quick hit, that is not the practice for you. It'll take you about a half an hour to go around this. This was definitely one of those times where I was like, holy crap, how many more beads do I have to go, when I was like barely halfway through. So like I sell quarter malas that are literally 27 beads, a quarter of 108, so that you can do them in like 5 to 7 minutes, as opposed to having to do the whole thing. If you want a longer practice, you just go 4 times around. But it gives you kind of a shorter, quick hit, which again, this is all about meditation in the moment and really having it, in, when and where you need it. So, all right. There is a longer lesson on using crystals, like using this in the self-guided course. So including a YouTube video that I did. It was 2 years ago, so be kind. It's probably one of those ones that I need to update at some point here. But I did do a YouTube video inside the course for how to use the crystals and a set of meditation beads. So the last thing that I have here is really, we're going to go over a quick list of resources and then walk through that 4-part structured meditation together. So if there's any other questions that have come up, like now is kind of a really great time so that we can end with like kind of at the end of the meditation and just be ready for the rest of our evenings and moving on. Any questions or thoughts or comments?
I don't have any questions.
I know it's a lot of information all at once. This is really just to like open up your eyes to like the different ways that you can do this, instead of the I think the stereotype that we all have of, like Beth said, 30 minutes in the perfect place with the perfect amount of noise, and and my clothes are always comfortable and the kids are always quiet, and God, I haven't found that perfect scenario yet. Even when you're on a beach, like a bug is biting me or a seagull is, whatever, right? Like literally the perfect time, the perfect place, the perfect environment does not exist. So we've got to find ways within our schedule and within our life the way that it is to incorporate these things, because we all know that it's one of those good to do things, but in the moment that you really need it is generally not when you have the time to explore longer practices. So take a look at the class, Cassie.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, take a look at the self-paced class, because it takes each one of these into like just a bite size. It'll take you about 10 minutes to read the lesson or watch the little video, and then the homework should take you 10 minutes or less.
Okay.
So it's meant to be kind of like a 12-day, it was originally like a 10-day email course that I created it as. So I think I've expanded a couple of lessons in there. But yeah, so it's kind of a 20-minute commitment while you're going through the course. But then once you've learned all these techniques, it's 30 seconds to however long it is that, that you have, that you want to spend on it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Beth, what were you starting to say?
I was wondering about like mantras. Like, do you like in the course go into like different mantras, or do you have resources for like, I just feel like I've never, like occasionally I'll find like a Sanskrit one or something that is kind of meaningful to me, but then like nothing really sticks. So I'm just wondering our mantras and if you have any resources for that.
No, I tend to do more of like the I am affirmation, statements. Could those be used as mantras? Maybe, probably, yeah. I think it's really about coming back to affirming the intention that you want to set for whether it's that day, that moment, the stretch of your life, whatever it is that you're working on. But I haven't dug into really anything specific around mantras and mantra creation or mantra use. It's not really been a big part of my practice. Some people love it, right? They've got them like all over. Like I've tried like the post-it notes or the, dry erase note to myself on the mirror and all that kind of stuff. I've gravitated more towards like the crystals where it's like the physical reminder that I'm going to see of, the intention that I've set for myself that day. So if you find a good resource, pass it along though, because I'm always up for learning.
Will do.
Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen again here real quick while we go over the, there was the meditation in 4 parts. Again, this is all listed in the self-paced course that you guys both have access to. That was the list of the stones that you got. So here are some resources. So I really enjoy following Simply Sadie Jane. Her Instagram is Simply Sadie Jane. And she has everything from yoga flows and other like exercise, like she's got like a prenatal exercise program. But then she's done a lot of like guided meditations. She's even done a whole guided meditation set for kids, like before school and like Sunday scaries and all sorts of stuff there. So again, none of these are affiliated. The only one I think I might have an affiliate code for is the Breathwork app. But Simply Sadie Jane on her Instagram, or I think her website is just simplysadiejane.com. I think you can get your first month for $1. And she hosts all of her stuff through this playbook app where there's a bunch of other like yoga teachers and trainers and coaches and all sorts of stuff on this playbook app that kind of have their own, little program on there. Insight Timer is a good app. There's a lot of content out there. Calm is another good app that a lot of people use. If you're a teacher, I think Calm still has a free, like where you can get into their premium content for free. Insight Timer has a lot of free resources. I was pretty impressed with Insight Timer. I don't use it a lot. Headspace is another app. The problem with a lot of these is that they are expensive, and I find that especially when you're new, while the idea of having a guided meditation is really great, like is really attractive, it's a slippery slope of you spending the 5 minutes you have to meditate, scrolling through the app, trying to find a meditation that you want to do, as opposed to just like doing one of the, kind of quick hit techniques that we've already done. Like put on your favorite song and listen to that. Like don't make it any more complicated than it needs to be. I think that guided meditations can be really beautiful. I participate in them. I've done guided hypnosis and, all sorts of stuff. They can be fantastic. But if you've got just a short period of time, unless you've got an app that suggests one for you, and you've already put in like some preferences of like no more than 5 minutes or no more than 10 minutes, I think it's really easy to spend more time futzing around with the app than actually doing the meditation. And then you're like, well, now the baby's up and crying again, and there went my time. And so you're actually in a worse situation than you were if you had just like sat down and breathed and counted to 20 twice. Like I think it overcomplicates things. They're beautiful. They're well done. There's a place for them. If you have a short, limited amount of time, I don't like to recommend them because I think it's too easy to get into that. Like, oh, I'm just opening up Instagram to do one thing, and then 20 minutes later, you're like, shit, what did I even mean to do when I opened up my phone, right? We've all done it. Or I've opened up my phone to send a text to my mom, but Instagram was already open when I unlocked my phone. And then I'm 20 minutes into Instagram and I was like, I didn't even come on here. I didn't even pick up my phone to look at Instagram. So I think that some of these apps can kind of get into the same situation. But here's that Othership app that I said is good for breath work. I think breath work is something that is better done when guided. So that is probably the exception to my opinion on apps. Because breath work can be intense when you get into some of it, as we've talked about with Beth here. Holding your breath and breathing in different patterns is meant to stir up some things, and so I think being guided through that, there is some real benefit to that, outside of the two kind of real basic techniques that I outlined here tonight. Podcasts. Tara Brach is a absolute legend in the meditation world. Her podcast guided meditations can be lengthy, so that's just kind of one thing to keep in mind if you go there. Meditation Minis with Chell Hamilton, those are great because in the name of the podcast is that it's a mini meditation, so they tend to be more 10 minutes or so. And again, some of hers are meant to be moving meditations where you can listen to them while you're walking. So you just kind of have to scroll through again, you're scrolling through podcasts, looking for just the right unicorn for what you're, what is going to fit your mood today. But then I do also like to recommend for on YouTube, the Blended Being channel, hosted by Che. Che is a non-binary person of color. So I like adding some, non-white woman resources in there, just, because it does bring kind of a diverse look, both in ethnicity and in sexuality, orientation. So some things that are friendly for people who are part of those communities, because I think we can be a little white womany in in this space, right? So I like, and I had the pleasure of being in a workshop with Che, and their meditations were fantastic. So okay, if there's not any other questions, we are going to right on time. This is fantastic. We're going to end with just doing that structured meditation. And then if you've got any questions, I know I emailed, you both directly here today. So if anything comes up afterwards, don't hesitate to, to reach back out, and I'll answer whatever questions, whatever questions. All of those resources that I just shared are also in the self-guided course. So there's a resources section, lesson, that has all of those with hyperlinks to a lot of them. So that is in the coursework as well. So, all right, let's take a moment to go ahead and close your eyes. And we're going to start with a deep breath in. Exhale. And start to bring your attention to something that you feel grateful for. It could be something that happened today, a momentary blessing, a moment of kindness that someone extended to you. But really take the moment to feel into how wonderful it is that that was a part of your life today. Send all of the warmth that you feel in your heart out to that situation or that thing or that person. So that it receives that energy and knowledge, even at a subconscious level, that you're grateful for it. Now, turn your attention to someone who could use an extra shot of help, of love, of healing energy. And envision that person enveloped in the most comforting cocoon of energy you can imagine. And see the energy literally remove bricks of weight from their shoulders. See their stress melt away from their face as their brow softens, and their eyes open in wonder and relief as they feel the support that you are sending them through the universe. Buoy them up. See the energy grow to envelop the situation that they're in that's making things difficult for them right now. See it soften. See it improve. And see this person's capacity for handling the challenges and growing through them increase. Now I invite you to take a moment to think about yourself and what support you might need to make tomorrow a better day than today was. Do you need to ask for help? Or do you need to prove to yourself that you can do the thing you've been avoiding? Do you need to connect with a loved one? Or just carve out time, even just the 3 minutes that we've talked about here, to sit and breathe while holding your cup of coffee in the morning. See yourself receiving that support. And imagine moving through your day a little bit lighter, a little bit more ease, peace, and compassion in your heart and mind as a result. Take that same bright light that we sent to your loved one and see it now enveloping you and your day tomorrow. And know that it is blessed by the work we've done here tonight. And as you feel that light infusing every bit of your body, I invite you to take a couple deep breaths, holding on to the warmth of that energy and letting your mind be still while we breathe 4 times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Two more times. And really let the tension drain out of your forehead and your temple and your jaw on this exhale. Inhale in. Relax and exhale. This next one, let the tension drain from your neck and your shoulders as we close out our practice. Inhale. Release the tension. Exhale. Slowly come back. And there we go. That was less than 10 minutes. You get some exercise or some practice going through a structured meditation. And hopefully you have some tools to make your days, if not less stressful, to allow yourself to respond to the stress in your days in a more productive manner. Okay. Thank you so much both for spending your time with me here tonight. I'm so glad that you both came, and I hope that it it benefits both of you. So, all right.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Cassie, don't be a stranger. I look forward to seeing you around in the retreat. And if you've got any questions in there, there's a lot that you can kind of poke around and once you start looking around. So don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Thank you. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Good night,
absolutely.
guys.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Good.
Thanks. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Bye.